First of all, congratulations. Just to introduce, Cyril is... Thank you very much. So Cyril is a French theater director who works in multimedia, opera. He's working on virtual reality now, and he founded a collective called MXM, which has for particularity the fact that it very much emphasizes all the roles which come into creating a performance, technical and artistical roles, and people being very transversal within them. And Ruban, you were Cassavetes' collaborator for over 30 years. You were his cinematographer and producer for Opening Night. And today you are the one who has the rights to his work. You are the one who gave Cyril the rights for this project.
Well, I don't have the rights personally. Jenna Rowlands, John's wife, has the rights. And I just handle it. But I have to say that Isabella Johnny must be exhausted. She was wonderful.
And so Morgan Lloyd-Sicard,
Two.
who is playing
Also the director. And I must say the cast was just superb. But and Cyril has done an excellent job. And it was really a new experience for me, watching this play. I worked a long time on their film. But I must say, this was an original experience for me. And much more telling in a way, because I finally got to see the entire production from the audience point of view. Boy, I don't want to say it was fun, but boy, it was exciting. Thank you.
How are you? Thank you.
So, Cyril, yesterday was officially the New York premiere of Opening Night. However, in a way, we can consider that tonight was also a premiere.
Oui.
Since the performance changes a little bit every night. So tonight's audience also saw an opening night of Opening Night. Could you comment a little bit on the process?
Yeah. I will speak in French. It's
Yes.
okay for me because it's better.
Je vais traduire.
Sorry.
I'll translate it.
But I think it will be better for you. I will try. You want that I speak English? No. No. Yes? Yeah? Français? First of all, I will try in English and French English. So for me, yes, it's the opening night every day. And tonight is different between yesterday because for me, when one professor of theater said when I was younger, when you play for an audience, you must play for one person. It's important for all the audience to play for one person. Tonight, my team play for one person tonight and to express all the play put together. This person is here, is Ruban, and for me is today it was very important for me and is a real opening night. Yesterday it was another opening night, but tonight is an incredible opening night because here there is a great person for me who shot the opening night with Cassavetes, and it's for my team an honor to play tonight for this person. He don't know me, but I love him. So, sorry, but I must say that. Sorry.
That's okay. Flattery was, well, it's everything. I was a very lucky guy. I got to participate in this particular film. I spent many years with John Cassavetes, and it wasn't always a happy time. But when I look back, I really liked the bad times too. It was a fulfilling life, and I'm just really happy to be here and seeing the work of another artist portrayed on the screen and on the stage that I could really appreciate, that I could just sit in the audience and see it for the first time. I see the struggles of that woman. Well, I can only tell you that by the end of the play, I love Isabel. And of course, the director too. But it really was a wonderful experience. And I'm happy to have shared that with the rest of you.
Just to explain the concept of the project. The beginning of Opening Night, it was in 22 February. I remember this date because it's very important for us. It was in Belgium, and we create one piece for the public. And 4 hours before the public go inside in the theater, I said to Isabel, I don't like that. What I made. Right. Yes. Thank you. And
we changed everything.
Yeah.
4 hours before.
Yeah, 4 hours before. I said, could we change everything, please, Isabel and the team? And she said, well, why? She said, because the Cassavetes and Ruban, all the team, I think, for me, try to find a sort of truth. They don't want to tricher, cheat. And my work is make a good show. Not so, perhaps I cheat, perhaps. I cheat. I'm sorry, goodbye. So the shit too, no? Okay, sorry, you understand. It's not so far. And when I see my work, I said, no, it's not good, because the process of John Cassavetes and Ruban is a way very special in how we work. And I want to make the same way. And I say, I don't know if the show will be good or not, but I want that when we see our faces on the mirror, I want to say, yes, I am. It's truth. I don't want to cheat. Okay, with the public, because Ruban and Cassavetes, for me, is a cinéma de la vérité. Okay?
A cinema of truth.
Yes, and my theater need to be the same. And during 25 play, yes, we begin every day. Every day was a different opening night because every day was different show. And some people, I remember, is it in the text when he said some people like it, and yes, it's a part of people like it and people don't like it. Didn't like it. It was true for us. Some people said, wow, what's happened? Why they make that now? And some people said, wow, good luck, continue to try that. And Isabel and the team, Morgan and Frédéric, thank you because ils m'ont fait confiance.
They trusted me.
Yes, trusted me because the way is better than the result. You know?
The path is more interesting than the destination.
Yes, and I think I'm autodidact, and I learned that en regardant and seeing,
While watching,
yes, the work of these great, very great men, artists.
And so that's interesting, because Cyril, you mentioned that you are self-taught, autodidact, and I think, Al, that's very much the case you were telling us as well, of you and the whole crew that Cassavetes put together. Would you like to comment a little bit about that?
Well, I would say that there isn't any project that will survive without the cooperation of all the people involved. Everybody has an important part to play. And you're listening to a guy who in his youth never believed that. I was so worried about doing my part that at times I was not concerned with the contribution of other people behind the camera. But I came to learn very quickly. But boy, they are so important. Because without them, you don't get this ambient feeling of joy that every day you experience something new. And you can't plan on it, but when you see it and feel it, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's a high that stays with you for a very long time. It's a sense of satisfaction. And it's what everyone feels. And it's the hard work. And I guess you'll just have to get older to really appreciate it. But I must say that when people talk about some like it, some don't like it, for me, the more interesting people were the ones that didn't like it. Because they would give you an explanation of why they didn't like it. And they go into detail, and you realize that the film touched them in such a way they actually resented parts of it, but knew why they resented it. And in fact, it was more informative to me than the people who loved it would say it was wonderful. See you tomorrow. Not that I'm putting them down. It's always nice to hear nice things. But the people that didn't like it, I always thought had great reason and well thought out. And I think eventually, maybe the next day, they liked it a bit more. But that's the experience you go through in the creative world that I hope you all get to feel in your lives. It's again, I say it's a satisfaction that's only born out of the work.
And do you feel that the process that Cyril was describing and that they went through of remaking the play constantly every night and changing it, and even today allowing some room for improvisation, is that reminiscent of some of the ways you worked with Cassavetes on set?
Yeah, but we took longer. John was the kind of man that didn't like to explain anything. He would never tell the actors what to do. In fact, when I would say to him, John, okay, we're going to shoot this scene, what do you want out of it? I mean, if I have to light it, I'd like to know the mood or what expression you're trying to... I was trying to be intellectual. And he would explain nothing. And so we'd have to go into the scene and I'd light it the way I felt like. And he always had the option to tell me change it, which he did only once in 8 movies. But, well, it's a sense of cooperation that everybody contributes and you feel worthy. And you actually get to know your craft a little better. So, I forgot, what was the question?
I think you answered it. I was also wondering, Morgan, so as, you know, hearing Al's comments about the actors and them working with Cassavetes, you as an actor tonight, but who was portraying the role of the director, what question would you like to ask Al?
Non, tout de suite, je sais pas.
Quelle question tu pourrais poser en tant que...
Ouais, question posée à Al par rapport aux acteurs.
Soit par rapport aux acteurs, le processus, soit
Et par rapport à
tu joues, du coup, finalement, le rôle, tu peux pas.
They can't hear you.
I have nothing to say. C'est ça. Non, je sais pas. Je ne sais pas.
Also, so I'm also interested in coming back to the work of the cameraman, because this is something that's very important in tonight's performance. This is also very interesting because earlier we were discussing faces in particular, and you said in faces, 95% of the camera was handheld.
Yes.
Tonight, 100% of the camera was handheld.
His is smaller.
Yes. So what can we say? I'm curious into both of your thoughts as to the role, because here we see it live and we see the cameraman's body on stage. It almost creates a form of choreography. And what can we say about the cameraman's role in movement and in relation to the bodies of the actors and the surroundings?
Well, it's important. He's the fourth character in this play, and he does it quite well. I'm glad the camera is lighter, because he has to hold it for a long time. But he's very good. He's very good.
On a, je pense, une relation assez similaire avec Nicolas. Juste pour expliquer juste un tout petit peu notre histoire.
We have a similar relationship with Nicholas, and I'm just going to explain a little bit about our...
Nicolas était mon étudiant dans une école de cinéma.
Nicholas was my student in a film school.
C'était un étudiant qui ne parlait pas.
He was a student who never spoke.
Et je disais à mon autre collaborateur, puisqu'on était professeurs tous les deux,
And I told my other collaborator, because we were both
yes,
professors,
cet étudiant qui parle jamais derrière, là, dans
who
le
is this
fond, là.
student who never speaks sitting in the back there.
Et un jour, on a voulu faire un projet d'installation vidéo.
And one day we wanted to do a video installation project.
Et j'étais content parce que tout le monde était content,
And I was happy because everyone was happy,
mais il n'exprimait rien.
but he wasn't expressing anything.
Parce que je pense qu'il savait le danger qui nous attendait.
Because I think he knew the danger that was awaiting us.
Et je me rappelle toujours Nicolas qui dit juste Cyril, ce que vous êtes en train de faire ne marchera pas.
And I just remember Nicholas saying, Cyril, what you are doing is not going to work.
Alors je lui ai dit, puisque ça ne marchera pas, montre-moi ce qui va marcher.
And I said, since it's not going to work, show me what would work.
Et il m'a montré la route.
And he showed me the path.
Et depuis maintenant 11 ou 12 ans,
And now for 11 or 12 years,
on est inséparables.
we're inseparable.
Similarity between Cyril and Cassavetes, particularly when everybody else is happy, usually they are not.
Yes. The Wi-Fi. Just about information. But une chose très importante pour nous,
Something very important for us.
c'est qu'on travaille toujours l'image à l'oreille.
We always work on the image through the your phone.
Il y a beaucoup de gens qui filment sont séduits par l'image
A lot of people who film are seduced by the image
parce qu'ils regardent l'image.
because they're watching the image.
Le travail qu'on a fait avec Nicolas, c'était d'écouter l'image,
The work we do with Nicholas is to listen to the image,
de savoir si l'image nous parle ou si elle ne nous parle pas.
to know if the image speaks to us or does not speak to us.
Parfois, on a réalisé des images plus belles que d'autres,
Sometimes we made images which were more beautiful than others,
mais on ne les a pas gardées parce qu'elles ne nous parlaient pas.
but we didn't keep them because they didn't speak to us.
Ça vient du théâtre.
That comes from theater,
Parce que le théâtre est un art de l'aveuglement.
because theater is an art of blindness.
Et on doit créer des images comme si on ne pouvait pas regarder.
And we have to create images as if we could not look at them.
Juste faire confiance à son oreille.
Just to trust our ears.
Yes, so.
Cyril, that's interesting, and that actually brings me to one of my next questions directly. I thought it was very interesting. So earlier we sat down with Al and had a drink, and Al was telling us that Cassavetes movies all started out as plays. He wrote them as plays in order to make then a movie out of them. And I'm interested because Cyril, you are making a play in order to write a film in a certain sense. Not to make a film, because the film is not the result, but you're writing a film. It's about the process of a film. I wonder if you can both comment on the relationship that you have and that you as the Cassavetes crew have between theater and film, and those sort of opposite processes of writing.
Well, I don't see any difference. It's the creative process. And with John, he thought in a certain way because he came out of the theater. And it's just what, excuse me, it's just what provoked him. And he would just write. He wrote constantly. And he's the only guy I know that was capable of writing in his mind and then being able to set it to paper the next day or the next week. I mean, he really went through all this process with self-thought and could put it down on paper, which was unusual for me, because when I try writing, I have to put it on paper to understand even what I'm thinking about. But yeah, I see a similarity in that. I'm really not out of the theater, so I don't understand it as well as perhaps all of you. I just like to watch something. I either like it, don't like it, and then I'll analyze and figure out things. But I just want the sheer joy, because when I come into a theater, I've already accepted what's going to be presented. And if I'm disappointed, then I have a problem. But I really want everything to be great. I want every film to be great. Because I enjoy them. And I enjoy the theater in that respect. I know there's an awful lot of work that goes into it. But I don't care. As a fan, I just want to like it or not like it.
Would you like to comment?
La première des choses, c'est que j'ai toujours été sensible aux cinéastes qui ont fait un cinéma du rassemblement.
I've always been very sensitive to film directors who make movies that bring together, of coming togetherness.
Cassavetes, Bergman, tous ceux qui viennent du théâtre et qui ont fait que, même si le cinéma est un art qui pourrait diviser,
all of those who come from theater and who, despite the fact that filmmaking could be an art that divides us,
ces artistes ont toujours fait attention à ce que tout se fasse ensemble.
These artists have always paid attention that everything be done together.
C'est une forme de théâtre.
It's a form of theater.
Parfois, le cinéma de Cassavetes est plus théâtral que certains spectacles que je peux voir.
Sometimes Cassavetes films are more theatrical than some plays I can see.
Parce que pour moi, il n'y a pas d'autre chemin que celui de la troupe.
Because for me, there's not another way than the way of the company, of the troupe.
Et le théâtre, pour moi, est un art qui rassemble tous les autres.
The theater for me is an art that brings all the other arts together.
Je ne fais pas du cinéma.
I don't make film.
Video. Je suis vidéaste.
I'm a videoist.
Et le cinéma est un art qui peut conjuguer le temps à l'infinitif.
And cinema is an art that can conjugate time in the what do you call it? L'infinitif. No.
Ah,
the infinitive tense,
ah. Sauf certains cinéastes, bien sûr.
except for some film directors.
Le théâtre est un art qui se conjugue au participe présent.
The theater is an art that conjugates in the present tense,
Thank you.
present participative tense.
Et je pense que toute l'histoire, elle se situe là. C'est-à-dire comment, à un moment donné, ces deux arts sont tout le temps au présent.
I think that's where these two arts come together, is the fact that they're both always in the present.
C'est pour ça que je ne les dissocie pas.
I don't dissociate them.
En France, on a tendance à séparer ces deux arts-là.
In France, we tend to separate these two art forms,
Et c'est une hérésie.
and it's a mistake.
Yes. Parce que ce sont des arts c'est une fratrie.
They're a fratry,
Voilà, ils viennent,
a brotherhood.
ouais, pour moi, ils viennent du même sang.
They come from the same blood.
Et donc il faut continuer à apprendre à ce qu'ils grandissent ensemble.
And so we have to keep learning for them to grow together.
Voilà. Et c'est de là que j'espère qu'on prend, nous, l'héritage de nos aînés. Voilà.
And that's why I hope we can keep learning from the heritage of our predecessors.
Well, thank you. But you know, it's a generational thing. I sit here and I realize I'm from the past. And Cyril is certainly contemporary and doing it. I couldn't even envision doing the work that he's done. And the cameraman and the actors. The cameras we used were big, bulky, and the lightness of the current technical stuff just makes it more exciting and more immediate and thrilling. So I'm happy to watch everything you do.
Mais quand, je dis ça très sincèrement,
But I say this very sincerely.
quand un artiste réforme l'art, c'est qu'il réforme la production.
When an artist reforms an art, refounds an art form, he's refounding the production.
Voilà, je dis ça parce qu'en fait, des artistes comme Cassavetes sont tellement allés loin qu'ils ont montré les limites de la technique qu'ils avaient à leur époque.
I say this because sometimes when artists like Cassavetes have gone as far as they've gone so far that they've showed the limits of the technology that they had at their time.
Et c'est parce qu'ils vont loin qu'ils nous permettent, nous, aujourd'hui, d'hériter de ces outils-là, parce que c'est cette pensée-là qui nous a... Ce sont des visionnaires.
And it's because they went so far that they allow us now to inherit the tools that we can imagine now because they were visionaries.
Et je disais juste avant la représentation à Ruban que si Cassavetes et Ruban avaient eu nos outils, 40 ans plus tôt, ils seraient en train de faire ce qu'on fait aujourd'hui.
And I was telling Al Ruban just before
Alors je
the
ne sais pas qui est le
performance.
plus jeune et le plus vieux de nous deux. Voilà.
I was telling Al Ruban just before the performance that if he and Cassavetes had had the tools we have today 40 years ago, they would have been doing this already. So I don't know who's the younger and the elder in this relationship.
Well, let me leave you with this thought. We were shooting another film called Husbands, and we had a scene in a bathroom, and there always seemed to be scenes in bathrooms in all of the films. If there was a small room that could be shot in, that's the room that John would want to shoot in. But Peter Falk was throwing up in the toilet and going on and on and on. And I turned to John and I said, "God damn, John, enough." And he looked at me and he just said, "Al, it's never enough."
So I would like to open this discussion up to the audience. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for Morgan, Cyril, or Al? Do we have a mic? Someone was supposed to take it.
Don't leave.
I think just because they're recording it, we'll actually hand you a mic.
I have a question for Al. As someone who's self-taught, I'm assuming that you had a life before being behind the camera, so I'm very curious about that. And a follow-up, what do you think sets you apart because you're self-taught?
You have to repeat that.
So as someone who's self-taught, she likes to write the life before you worked with the camera, and she wants to know what that was. And then also, from being self-taught, what is it that, the second part of the question? What makes you different? What about being self-taught makes you different?
Well, to start with, not knowing what I was doing. And I mean that seriously, because it led me to do things that when I read the textbooks say you shouldn't do. But I didn't know better. And by experimentation, you begin to know what to do and what you can do and the chances you're willing to take. Before I did this kind of work, it's a long, long time ago, but I was a jock. I played baseball. And in fact, that's how I met John. He had a team of actors that were playing in Central Park up around 86th Street. And they would play every week, usually against Puerto Rican teams. And a friend of mine, or I should say a mutual friend, said, you ought to go up there because they lose all the time. So I thought, well, what's better than that? I went up and was introduced and played with them. And as I told Colette, we just didn't lose as many games after that. But yeah, I had always been the kind of person that things would take care of themselves. I was always out playing ball. I went to good schools. And I just thought, well, that's what life was about. You just put one foot in front of the other, and everything that's going to happen will happen anyway. So, yeah, I had a good life until it got serious. But I look back and I thank my relationship with John because he really changed my life by giving me an opportunity to do something that I could fall in love with. And I'll always thank him for that.
Any other questions?
Bonsoir, j'ai une question pour Cyril. En fait, tout à l'heure, vous avez dit qu'en Belgique, lors de la première, vous avez décidé 4 heures auparavant de changer un petit peu le process. Et est-ce que, encore là, maintenant, il y a une part d'improvisation, en fait, quand la pièce est jouée?
So the question to Cyril is, he mentioned that when the play performed in Belgium, 4 hours before the show, he came in and changed everything. And she wants to know if now there's still a part of improvisation in the play.
Alors, à l'heure où nous en sommes aujourd'hui, on est plus dans un archivage de ce qu'on a produit.
So now where we stand today, we're more in a process of archiving what we've produced.
Par exemple, le début, quand le metteur en scène fait des italiennes avec les acteurs, on a véritablement vécu ça le jour de la première, puisque les gens entraient et nous, on commençait un nouveau spectacle.
So, for example, the beginning, when the director runs through the lines of the play with the actors, we actually really experienced that the day of the premiere, because literally as the audience was entering, we were rehearsing the lines and changing everything.
Par exemple, quand Morgane descend et interrompt pour faire un plan séquence, un jour, je ne comprenais plus ce qu'on était en train de faire au plateau, et je suis intervenu pour arrêter tout, et de dire, faisons une expérience, tentons un plan séquence, on se donne 20 minutes et on voit si ça marche.
And for example, when Morgan interrupts the play at one point to do a long sequence shot, that really actually came because Cyril that happened, and he interrupted the play one day because he wasn't satisfied with what they were doing and said, let's just take 20 minutes to try something here.
99% des plans qui ont été faits par Nicolas n'ont jamais été écrits.
99% of the shots that you see Nicholas shooting during the play have never been written.
Il suivait les acteurs là où il fallait les suivre et il écrivait au fur et à mesure des représentations.
He followed the actors where they would move, and he wrote the shots as we ran through the different shows.
Aujourd'hui, on est plus dans la mémoire de ce qu'on a performé
Now we're more in the process of the memory of what we performed
que de la réinvention d'un nouveau spectacle.
than in the reinvention of a new show.
Parce que je crois qu'il faut savoir un tout petit peu, même si c'est jamais that's enough, si c'est jamais assez, il faut savoir à un moment donné aussi faire l'expérience de la reproduction.
Because I think sometimes you need to also know, even if you've never gone, if it's never enough, you still also sometimes need to know when to allow yourself to experiment the process of reproducing.
Qu'est-ce qu'on perd et qu'est-ce qu'on gagne dès lors qu'on refait à peu près la même chose chaque soir?
What do we lose and what do we gain when we're more or less reproducing the same thing every night?
C'est pas un confort, parce que je crois qu'on a choisi de ne pas être dans le confort.
It's not getting comfortable because I think we chose not to be in a comfort zone.
Mais pour nous aujourd'hui, de pouvoir faire chaque soir quasiment la même chose, même si tout change chaque soir,
But for us now to be able to do almost the same thing every night, even though something changes every night,
ce projet pour nous est comme quelque chose de nouveau, parce que dans mes spectacles auparavant, je maîtrisais beaucoup de choses.
this project is still something very new for us because in my prior shows, I was always very much in power, in possession of what we were doing.
Peut-être parfois trop possessif du sens.
Maybe sometimes even too much in possession of the meaning.
Et que là, ce qui est intéressant, c'est de quasiment voir quelque chose qui nous a échappé pendant 2, 3, 4 mois et de vous le restituer en essayant cette fois-ci d'en faire théâtre.
Here what's interesting is to see something that we kind of let go and let get away from us for 2, 3, 4 months and to now try and show it to you in the process of making it theater.
Aujourd'hui, Isabelle, entre Morgane et Frédéric, entre hier et aujourd'hui, il n'y a pas, pour moi, un plan qui ressemble à celui d'hier.
For me, for Morgan, Isabel, and Frederic, between yesterday and today, there's not one shot, one moment that looks exactly like yesterday.
Et eux sont encore en variation. Bon, je parlerai presque de variation, tu sais, les variations de Goldberg, de Bach.
And he says, and they're still in constant variation, and he could almost speak of like Goldberg's variation by Bach.
Voilà. Mais si vous revenez demain, vous reverrez les choses à peu près comme vous l'avez vu aujourd'hui, alors qu'il y a quelques mois, on était à 60-70% parfois différents entre la veille et le lendemain.
So now where we stand in the process, if you came back tomorrow, you would see something quite similar to what you saw today, whereas a couple months ago, you would have seen there would have been only 60 or 70%.
Le danger, c'est d'en faire un spectacle.
The danger is to make a show.
Ce n'est pas un spectacle,
This is not a show.
c'est une démarche.
It's a process. So I don't know. Do we have time for one more question? Yes. One more question.
What was the cast and crew's relationship to the original movie? Did you watch it over and over? Did you watch it once? Did you watch it as a group? How did you deal with the original material?
Ah, c'est pour moi, ok.
C'est un peu du film en fait, pour choisir trois figures, trois personnages.
Ah, le process est très particulier.
The process is very peculiar.
Je ne pensais pas au départ mettre en scène l'œuvre de Cassavetes.
At first, I didn't think I was going to be staging Cassavetes' work.
Je pensais travailler sur la question de la création dont l'œuvre de Cassavetes faisait partie.
I thought I was going to be working on the question of creating, the process of creation, of which Cassavetes' work was part.
Et j'ai eu la chance donc, de rencontrer, c'était en octobre, Al Ruban par téléphone, on a discuté.
And I was fortunate enough to meet Al Ruban over the phone in October. We spoke.
Et on a eu cette discussion de qu'est-ce qui était plus juste pour nous.
And we spoke together about what made the most sense for us, what was the right thing for us.
Essayer de faire une tentative dans l'œuvre de Cassavetes uniquement, ou d'essayer de travailler sur un corpus autour de la création.
Was it to try to make an attempt within Cassavetes' body of work alone, or to make something more within a corpus of works?
Et j'ai préféré apprendre du script de John Cassavetes.
And I chose to learn from John Cassavetes' screenplay.
Mais j'avais déjà mes 3 acteurs.
But I already had my 3 actors.
À partir de là, la question était comment faire avec 3 acteurs 15 personnages.
From there, the question was how to do with 3 actors, 15 characters.
Et j'ai essayé de me concentrer sur la relation des 3 personnages principaux.
And so I tried to focus on the relationship between the three main characters.
Le théâtre a peut-être cette capacité qu'un acteur puisse interpréter 3-4 personnages et qu'on accepte le code, ce qui n'est pas au cinéma.
Theater perhaps has this quality that one actor can portray 3 or 4 characters, and will accept it as a code, which cinema doesn't really allow for.
Alors au bout d'un moment, j'ai commencé à simplement me dire, et je ne pourrai jamais refaire le film.
And then after a certain amount of time, I told myself that I'm never going to be able to remake the film.
C'est un monument.
It's a monument.
Par contre, je me suis inspiré d'un peintre qui s'appelle Francis Bacon,
But I took inspiration from a painter, Francis Bacon,
qui travaille sur le pape de Velázquez.
who works on Velázquez's Pope.
Et quand on a les deux papes, le pape de Velázquez et le pape de Bacon, si vous avez l'opportunité de les regarder, j'ose espérer que si l'œuvre de Cassavetes et Velázquez, on a tenté de faire du Bacon.
So I hope that if someday you were capable of comparing the Pope by Velázquez and the Pope by Bacon, well, if Cassavetes is Velázquez, then perhaps with us you would see Bacon.
Le théâtre devait défigurer quelque chose du cinéma.
The theater needed to disfigure something of the cinema
Pour être le plus respectueux possible de l'œuvre de Cassavetes.
in order to be the most respectful possible of Cassavetes' original work.
Well, the true judges are really you people out there. They'll let Cyril, they've let me know in the past how good our work actually is. And we do it, I think, just for ourselves. We don't do it to please you. We really want to just satisfy ourselves. And if we like it, we think you'll like it. But you're the ultimate judge of whether careers are made or broken. So I hope you like him enough that he'll keep working.
Thank you very much, and thank you for staying to participate in this discussion.